Bangladesh logs 30 new COVID deaths. Cases drops below 10,000 as pressure reducing in hospitals. Newborn sold to pay hospital C-section bill returned to mother in Chatpur. Beijing Winter Games kicks off amid COVID and boycotts Putin Xi in opening ceremony. Assalamu alaikum, this is Chaudhry Sama, welcoming you all to Evening News. You have just had the headlines, now let's move on to the details. Bangladesh has recorded 9,000 new cases of COVID in a daily count. The death toll climbed to 28,524 after 30 deaths were registered in the 24 hours to 8 a.m. Friday. As many as 39,000 samples were tested across the country for a positivity rate of 22.95%. The latest figures put the recovery rate at 86.04% and the mortality rate at 1.55%. Several COVID hospitals in Dhaka have been seeing limited pressure of admitting new COVID patients. The hospital authorities said the pressure of admitting has been reducing for the last 2 to 3 days, though there were huge pressure in the last week. There were 200 more patients were admitted in COVID unit of Dhaka's Kurmitala Hospital, but the number is below 150 on Friday. Besides, a few patients were seen visiting the hospital.
আর কাশি তো আজকেই আসছে দেখাইতে তো আমাকে এখানে ব্লাড টেস্ট দিয়েছে আর কোভিড টেস্ট দিয়েছে করতে আর কেমিক্যাল কিছু মেডিসিন দিয়েছে বাসার আর কারো কোনো লক্ষণ আছে না বাসায় সবাই আলহামদুলিল্লাহ সবাই সুস্থ আছে আমি অসুস্থ আর কি আপনি কি ভ্যাকসিন নিয়েছেন ভ্যাকসিনের জন্য অ্যাপ্লাই করেছি এখনো আর কি মেসেজ আসেনি
গত এক সপ্তাহ আগে রোগীর প্রেসার প্রচুর ছিল বাট এই 2-1 দিন আগ পর্যন্ত আর কি আর রোগীর প্রেসার কমেছে সংক্রমণ আছে বাট মারাত্মকভাবে এফেক্টেড হচ্ছে না এখনো যারা ভ্যাকসিন নেন তাদের সিরিয়াসনেস অবস্থা হ্যাঁ অবশ্যই ওটা হচ্ছে ভ্যাকসিনটা আমাদেরকে প্রোটেকশন দিচ্ছে কিন্তু ভ্যাকসিন দিলে যে হচ্ছে না এরকম না হচ্ছে কিন্তু আমাদের সিভিয়ারিটি কমে যাচ্ছে
European Investment Bank will provide €250 million to Bangladesh to support procurement of safe and effective vaccines and countrywide immunization against COVID. Vaccination efforts will also include Rohingya refugees from Myanmar currently hosted in Bangladesh. The financing will help Bangladesh mitigate the health effects of the coronavirus pandemic and enable the country to strengthen its healthcare system and protect its people from COVID with effective vaccines, said the European Embassy in Dhaka. The gauge for world food prices went up in January, largely catalyzed by supply-side constraints for vegetable oils. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations FAO reported on Thursday. The FAO Food Price Index averaged 135.7 points in January, 1.1% higher than in December. The index tracks monthly changes in the international prices of commonly traded food commodities. FAO Vegetable Oils Price Index led the rebound in January, increasing by 4.2% month-on-month and reversing its December decline to reach an all-time high. Food prices, including rices, pulses, have also been increasing in Dhaka's kitchen markets.
10-15,000 অথবা 18,000-20,000 টাকা বেতন ভাই তাতে ঘর ভাড়া দিগাল 7-8,000 টাকা জায়গা একটা বাচ্চার ফিসে যদি 5-7,000 টাকা জায়গা আর একটা জালি যদি 70 টাকা কিনতে হয় তাহলে বোঝেন না আপনারা আমরা কত সুখে আছি
বাজারে নিত্য পণ্যের দাম যে হিসাবে বাড়তেছে এইভাবে দেশের অবস্থা কি হয় আল্লাহই ভালো জানে মশারি ডাল এখন 95-100 টাকা 100-150 টাকা কেজি তো মানুষ কি খাইবো
A woman who was forced to give up her newborn for adoption has been reunited with her child in Chatpur. The Matlab North Upazila administration took the baby back from an expatriate couple now staying in Shatnal in Matlab and handed it to its mother Tamanna Begum. On January 26, Tamanna gave birth to a boy at Pulse 8 General Hospital through C-section. Unable to afford the hospital bill of Taka 40,000, her husband left them and fled. His phone was also switched off. Left with no other option, Tamanna had to sell off her child for Taka 50,000 to foot the bill.
আমার রেখে চলে গেছে সিজার খরচ দেওয়ার মতো কোনো টপিক আমাদের ছিল না যে যদি আমরা সিজার খরচ না দিতে পারি আমরা বাচ্চা কাউকে দিয়ে দিব যারা আমার সিজার খরচ দেবে হেফারে উপজেলার মাধ্যমে আমি আমার সন্তান ফিরে পাইছি আমি সন্তান পেয়ে অনেক খুশি হয়েছি বা আমার টেনশন থেকেও মুক্তি হয়েছি
Two more officials of Chattogram General Post Office have been fired for embezzling funds. 2 years ago, the GPO found evidence of embezzling Taka 30 crore in 5 years. The two employees, Chattogram GPO Superintendent Nipul Borua and Assistant Postmaster Saiful, were relieved from duty. In the same incident, Assistant Postmaster Noor and Postal Operator Sarwar were fired in January 2020. The police then arrested them. Besides, 22 more officers and employees were transferred back then. Light to moderate showers with thunderstorms hit several parts of Bangladesh since morning, triggering chilly weather conditions at many places. Meanwhile, it started drizzling in several places in Dhaka city after 12 p.m. Dinajpur Weather Office, for instance, recorded 30.4 millimeters of rainfall from 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., prompting the district to shiver at 13 degrees Celsius. The lowest temperature in the past 24 hours was recorded at 11.2 degrees in Tetulia. Justice Ephraim Nazmul Ahsan, who was elevated to the appellate division from the High Court, has died from post-COVID complications before he could be sworn in as one of the top judges. President Abdul Hamid and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina have expressed deep sorrow over his death. Justice Ahsan breathed his last at 6:15 a.m. on Friday at Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib Medical University, said Supreme Court spokesman. Now, international news. Russian President Vladimir Putin met Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing on Friday amid tensions in Ukraine. Putin arrived in Beijing for the opening of the Winter Olympic Games and talks with his Chinese counterpart as the two leaders look to project themselves as a counterweight to the U.S. and its allies. The Russian leader's visit comes amid growing Chinese support for Moscow in its dispute with Ukraine that threatens to break out into armed conflict. Putin's presence makes him the highest-profile guest at the Games following the decision by the U.S., Britain and others not to send officials in protest over China's human rights abuses and its treatment of Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities. Hundreds of Tibetan exiles marched near the Chinese embassy in New Delhi on Friday, denouncing the Beijing Winter Olympics and demanding freedom for their region. They waved Tibetan flags and held placards. They demanded that China leave Tibet and implored the international community to stand up against Beijing. The protesters burned the Chinese flag. Some were detained by police after they jumped over security barricades and tried to run towards the Chinese embassy. Now sports, Beijing Olympics. The opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics in Beijing kicks off amid COVID and boycotts. The ceremony is set to start at 8 p.m. local time. It will take place at Beijing's National Stadium. A pair of presidents took part in the Beijing Winter Olympic torch relay on Friday, just hours before the opening ceremony. IOC President Thomas Bach and UN General Assembly President Abdullah Shahid each carried flame under unusually clear skies in the Chinese capital. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres plans to attend the opening ceremony despite a request from the United States to skip the event. The United States is leading a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Games as a protest against China's human rights record. Before ending, let's have a look on the headlines once again. Bangladesh logs 30 new COVID deaths. Cases drop below 10,000 as pressure reducing in hospitals. Newborn sold to pay hospital C-section bill returned to mother in Jodhpur. Beijing Winter Games kicks off amid COVID and boycotts Putin Xi in opening ceremony. And that's all from the newsroom for now. To know updates videos of this bulletin, visit our website www.ntvbd.com. Besides, visit our YouTube and verified Facebook page for updates over NTV's all popular programs and bulletins. Our next bulletin, Shonda Khabur, will be aired in Bangla at 7:30 p.m. Thank you for being with us. Have a good time.